Welcome, everybody. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And if you know the title, you know what it's about. And we are happy to be able to spend some time with you talking about educational technology things and knowing to like turn on the captions, which I did well beforehand. If you were surprised that in Google Slides, you can turn on captions, there you go. You can do it. You just kind of go down here and you click right there and you say, okay, captions preference and toggle, and it's on. By the way, Richard, I saw a thing today from, gosh, where was that? But it was about oh, it was in Google Meet. So you can do like translations and captions and stuff like that now. Like
in some versions of Google Meet, yes.
Some versions. All right. Well, there you go. So everybody, those of you who are into like captions and translations, apparently Google Meet is taking a really impressive step forward on that front, which is awesome. We want to thank you for being with us because we love sharing cool things. Richard loves sharing the sunlight that comes in and blasts him from his right side. That's all good.
Yeah.
Richard, if people were more curious about you than just where you are relative to the sunlight in your room, would they go to this site?
Yes, they would go to freetechforteachers.com. My little blog that I started about 15 years ago, and 16,000 or so blog posts later, I'm still going, writing about cool EdTech tools that I find and sharing. That's it.
And a good thing to do. Excellent. I run a little nonprofit Save the World thing called Next Vista for Learning. It's a library of videos made by and for teachers and students everywhere. We've got all kinds of videos on there. If you're kind of curious about how to use them with your kids, just stay in touch with me. If you go to nextvista.org, you'll see in the upper right a little thing that says contact. That'll get to me. So I'd love to talk to you about how we have videos for academic topics and communities around the world and service to others and so much more. We are doing a project now called Improve the World, and we're trying to get teens, it's actually pretty much anybody from 8 to 80, but teens especially, to share ideas that service clubs in different parts of the world can use to launch projects in their communities. If that intrigues you, then stay in touch with me as well. So how does this work? We take questions, we answer them, we share cool stuff. So let's get the questions started. Richard, get us going. What's our first question today?
First question came from Joanne. I'm creating a Google Jamboard for my class. When students click on an image on the left side, it takes them to Google image search inside the Jamboard. That's a handy little trick, by the way. There doesn't seem to be a way to get copyright information. Is it okay to use the images in a Jamboard without copyright documentation? Rushton, I think this is one of our favorite topics, copyright. So take it away.
It absolutely is. So here I am in Jamboard. I go to Google image search, right? And I do a search for images. I'm just going to say fog, right? Because sometimes I feel that way, right? And there are all these beautiful, like these are great. It's like great, wonderful pictures. Awesome, right? It's exactly as Joanne says. There isn't squat here for information on whether this is usable. You know, you might think, well, it probably is, but you can't say how or why. And that's really, really uncool. And so, Joanne, actually, the short answer to your question is no. You shouldn't use those. You know, now, is it a hassle to go kind of another route? Well, maybe so. But on the other hand, it is a highly questionable move on our part to model not doing things properly. So we don't know that those Google image search things coming up in Jamboard are images that have been identified for free reuse. We don't know that. If it's Creative Commons, then you're supposed to cite it, and you don't have the citation information, so that's lame as well. So Google, get off the stick, fix that.
Yeah, I wish there was a workaround, but there isn't really. There used to be in Google Docs a way to click on the source, but you can't do that anymore. So yeah, that's not a good, it's a good feature, but not a good feature at the same time. All right.
Now
so
you can upload images.
Yep.
And that's essentially the way to do it, and make it a part of what you do, is help them learn to, whether it's photos for class or or another tool, just getting images and thinking about the fact that we want to be able to say, this is who did this, and this is how you get back to that person, things like that.
Yeah, I actually used Jamboard just last month in December for a little course I was doing on teaching history of technology and using Jamboard to annotate images. And that's what we did, is we imported historical images that we found at different places, including archive.org, which is
Nice.
a place to find
Yes.
pictures as well. And I've got a link to how to do that.
Cool.
That I'll put right in the chat there. There it is. Okay.
All right.
right,
We will get that, by the way, we will get that that YouTube video you put there into the links page. All of our two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. When you register for this, you will get an email from me later that says, hey, we posted this. And then you can go to that, follow that link, and you'll find not just the recording, but the slides, and also a links page. And so I try to get everything that we mention as a part of this into that links page so that you can get back to it. So you know. Let's get to another question.
All right, another question. This one came from Shahina, who wrote, can you share something about WP Office? I'm a teacher, so I'd like to know its pros and cons with Microsoft Office. So I wrote back, for a teacher, assuming that your school is providing you with a computer and some kind of productivity suite, whether that's Google Workspace or Microsoft Office, I don't think there is any advantage to using something like WPS Office, because it's not open source and it doesn't have all of the other cloud computing functions that you would get with either the Microsoft suite or the Google Workspace suite. So I wouldn't use it as a replacement for one of those two. And if you're looking for something that's open source, then I would look at OpenOffice, openoffice.org, which I've used for years whenever someone has asked me for a non-Google Workspace tool. And in fact, in the school that I worked in for years before we had Google Workspace, before we had Google Docs, we actually used OpenOffice for everything because it was open source and didn't come with a licensing fee. So yeah, so short version is no benefit to using WPS Office that I can identify.
So yeah, I kind of noodled on this one a bit and thought, so WPS Office is an office suite for which there is a free version, right? And so the reason that this has been used a lot is because there's a free version. Now, I would quickly echo Richard and say, OpenOffice is something that has been, far more tested and, kind of community driven for years and years. But so a couple of other things about WPS Office. One of the reasons it's been downloaded and installed over 300 million times is because it is based in China. And so for a lot of Chinese users, it's a good option, and that's great. I have no problem with the fact that it's based in China, but your IT team might be like, oh no, our student data, blah, 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 so that's a real possibility for them. And you just might want to check with them on that front before going that route. Oh, OpenOffice is probably the easier move on that front.
Yeah.
Let's do another question.
Cool. Let's take another look at, all right. Question from Ashley. I was hoping you might be able to give me some information on how to make a digital teacher report card. I'd like it to be anonymous if possible, so my students feel they can be completely honest without fear of hurting my feelings. I'd really just like the feedback, which I'll use to continue to shape and tweak my program. We have iPads, one-to-one, Google Classroom, and Clever. However, if there's an app, platform, or resource you suggest, I'm all for learning something new. So, my first thought was Google Forms, but then I realized that some school districts have now set the default settings on G Suite or Google Workspace so that it automatically collects usernames when a student fills out a form. So if you do that, make sure you go into your forms and disable the collecting student information piece, right? And the other thing to keep in mind is if you make an anonymous Google form and it's not multiple choice or Dropbox or checkbox, you are opening up your form to potential of all kinds of who knows what comments from students or other crazy people on the internet. So there's that. There's another tool that I've dabbled with a bit called Ziplet, Ziplet, ziplet.com. I'll put the link in the chat. Ziplet.com is really designed for student feedback. And you can do it anonymously, or you can have students sign in and you can swap back and forth. Even with this within the same classroom account, you can have one question be anonymous, one question be not anonymous. So you can try Ziplet. The other thing that's cool about Ziplet is they have a lot of pre-made questions, way more than the Google Forms course evaluation template. Ziplet has dozens and dozens of questions that you could use for gathering feedback from kids.
Cool. Now, I would say on this front that if you want to use Google Forms, first of all, follow the advice Richard gave. Make sure you make sure that it's not automatically getting the student's email address. And I would consider actually demonstrating it in front of the students. This is the form. One of you just follow the link and type something in, and here's the sheet. I'm not getting your info. And then add in talking to them to say, understand why I'm not getting your info. In order to get better, I need people to share with me things that don't seem to be working very well. But a lot of people have trouble doing that, for good reasons. They might feel like, somebody would be mad at them for doing that or anything like this. But I want this done anonymously because I want to get better and I want to be a really good teacher for you. And so for that, I'm asking for your feedback. How can I get better? If you can't find a good way to do this, by the way, using tech, pass out a bunch of 3x5 cards and let them write things on it and turn it in. Don't put their name on it, right? I mean, that's a perfectly good move as well. Man, I remember once telling my students, I was like, I really want your ideas. I really want your ideas. Like, how can I get better as a teacher? And a kid in the back of the room raised her hand and said, Mr. Hurley. And I said, yeah. And I looked back her way and she wasn't looking at me like she was about, she had the strength, the courage to say this, but she couldn't look at me. She said, you always call on the same people. And I was like, wow, I needed to hear that. And I'll do better. And I said that there in class. And I think they were like, wow, this is a moment. And I did do better. Why? Because I'd said it there in class. I had to, right? I mean, it would have been totally lame if I just, and I didn't know I was calling on the same people all the time, So I mean, like those moments are really good, to show that you're listening. If you get data through a survey like this and you tell them, you say, hey, one of you mentioned this, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better because I want to do better for you. That's a good message right there. Ooh, cool addition to the chat from Nicole as well. A G-form course eval from Mari. All right, that's awesome. By the way, I think in terms of evaluation, we're going to get marked down if we don't get to some cool stuff. So let's kind of get in this space and talk about some of this. What do we got going on here?
Okay, two cool things. Number one, on the left, that's a picture of Denali National Park. And I just learned this week while scrolling through Instagram that the Denali National Park has a free program for classrooms in the US. Sorry, Judith. Free program for classrooms in the US where you can get a park ranger to do a virtual program for your school. They run this program November 1st through March 31st. You have to sign up at least 2 weeks. You have to request it at least 2 weeks in advance. And they have 7 different programs that they offer. 6 of them are for elementary school and 1 of them is for high school. They cover things about habitat and animals and all kinds of cool national park, Denali National Park stuff. So check that out. It's a Denali National Park's distance learning program, and there's a link to it in the slides, and we'll make sure we put that link in the chat as well. The other cool thing, not that the world needs another QR code generator, I don't think we do, but someone made one. in which you can upload a picture of yourself and it turns it into a cartoon, and you can put that card, and that cartoon is in the center of your QR code. It's called QR Toon. I just thought it was neat. I don't,
it is.
it's not going to change the way we do anything regarding QR codes or instruction, but it's a neat way to personalize a QR code. So that's it.
Righteously so. So Judith is and Nicole are about like one step ahead of me in the chat. Judith said she was going to check with Parks Canada. There are so many cool Canadian sites for sharing great things about nature that you'll probably find some good stuff there. Nicole mentioned Exploring by the Seat, which is something I think we've actually talked about on this show at some point along the way. That is a fantastic tool for getting kids via, in distance learning especially, but just as interesting resources and extra things for them to do. I mean, it's like exploringbytheseat.com is a great one. So give that a look. Speaking of great, here is a great video. I am all about the really cool stories that are out there. This one is one of the ones from Great Big Story. They've done so many really, really wonderful things, and unfortunately they're not with us anymore. That was painful. But their great work remains. And this one, A Blind Cyclist Superpower, is about a young man who was born sighted, but in his early teens he lost his sight, and he was very much somebody who loved sports and outdoor things and things like this. And short story is that he learned to echolocate, like a bat would, and so he can go places on his on a bike or on a skateboard and go and use it to actually figure out kind of what's on around him. It's a great video to talk about what it means that that we can do certain things. We're capable of doing certain things, but we don't until we have to. There are some interesting choices visually in the video as well. Quite a bit of it is kind of built into this. Like the scenes are kind of shown in an old-timey TV looking thing, which is an interesting choice and can have us talking about different things about the way we tell stories. But a great video, and I hope you guys will share that with your students. It's a cool.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Rushton,
yes,
Eric Weinmeyer, I'm going to mispronounce his last name as I have 20 years now, just published something on his one of his social medias that I saw the other day. So he was the first blind person to climb Mount Everest. He just did a big paddling trip down, I want to say Grand Canyon.
Wow,
huge. Yeah, I saw it on one of the many social media accounts that I follow for like outdoor adventure stuff, and that came across it right there. So
I was actually talking about the same story with some other teachers, and one of them was like, there was this 60 Minutes episode about a blind architect.
Yeah.
And a guy named Chris Downer, and he's won all these awards for his work and things like that. And so just, if you've got kids who are challenged in any way with their sight, this is your episode for cool things that you can bring to the table. It's a good question, like what do we bring to the table for our kids? And speaking of good questions, Richard, we probably have more.
We have more. One of those from Judith. One of those questions is from Judith, who asked us, what do you like to use to create talking avatars where you can record it speaking in your voice? Rushton told me he had no idea. I have two ideas. One of which you may have heard me playing in the background just a second ago. It's called Voki. It's been around for forever, it seems like. In internet terms, Voki has been around since like forever. I think Vicky Davis showed it to me like in 2007 or something like that. It's been around.
Amazing lady Vicky is.
Yeah. So Voki.com, create a talking avatar that you can use in a bunch of places. The other thing you can do is the ChatterPix app. Take a picture of yourself with the ChatterPix app on your iPhone or Android phone, and then record yourself talking, and you've got a 10-second, 15-second little talking you. So you can try that. I've used ChatterPix to make all kinds of things talk, basketballs, this baseball. I think I've done like 97 demos of making this baseball talk with ChatterPix over the years. It's just one of those things that, this baseball's been on my desk since, I don't know, the Reagan administration. And I just keep using it over and over again. It was a game ball from when I was in Little League. But anyway, so those are a couple of options. There used to be a cool tool called Morpho, the Morpho app. Unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore. It still exists on my iPad, although you cannot download it anymore. You could try that. Well, you can't try that anymore because you can't get it. But yeah, so those are two options to think about. So let's look at another question.
Oh, wait, before we do.
Okay.
I got to share an awesome thing and share it in the chat, right?
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
ChatterPix or things like that, right? Great
Yeah.
to use in lessons. Have Abe Lincoln read the Gettysburg Address. Students are
yeah.
far more engaged. Talk to your drama teacher about working with you on that kind of thing as well. That can be a really cool collaboration, and style points on that.
Oh, speaking of ChatterPix, a healthy meal, from your realm,
Yes.
Rushton, a healthy meal is like the cutest video you'll ever see from a group of kindergartners. And they use ChatterPix and iMovie to make a movie about a healthy meal, and all the little fruits and vegetables talk. So
Good man for bringing up
kindergarten voices, which is what makes it cool. All right.
Love it.
Let's get to the question from Barb. How about that?
Do it.
Question from Barb was about, we need a good way to build an infographic chart that would be compatible with Google Classroom. What do you suggest? Well, just about anything can be compatible with Google Classroom if you, make it so. If you mean like something you can sign into with your Google account, you could do that with Adobe Express, which is the new name for Adobe Spark.
That's right.
And you'll find templates in there for making infographics. You could also try Canva. Canva got started as an infographic design tool, 8 years ago. And now they're a multi-billion-dollar company. I just saw an ad for them while I was riding my bike a little earlier in the office here. So those are both good options for making infographics. One of the things to think about with infographics is the design aesthetic. And there is a cool website called Cool Infographics. And the guy who runs the website, Randy Crum, he wrote a book by the same name, about a handful of years ago, called Cool Infographics. And Cool Infographics gets into how to design a good infographic so it's not just a big cluttered mess, and so that you're not manipulating data incorrectly. I highly recommend looking at Cool Infographics if that's something you're really going to spend a lot of time doing with your kids.
Nice. So we will get the cool, like all of the other links, we will get the Cool Infographics link in our little place here. I will add this about infographics because as something that strikes me about them is this. In the same way that sometimes teachers are like, look, the student made a video. And it's a video, and you click on it, and it's a video. That's great. Okay, it's a video. Did it represent any kind of significant learning? Is there an insight attached to it? Is there something about how they use that video that represents learning in a powerful way? Or is it just that the kid never seems to have been praised before, and at least we have a video now? So there's a lot of different ways to think about this stuff. I think infographics are kind of in the same category. So having that extra time or putting in the extra time to ask questions like, why is this info in here? What do you think the person looking at the infographic will think about the topic, given that your choice to have this, so really trying to get into the space of why do Why do infographics look the way they do? What are they trying to convey? Is this merely sharing information, or is it something more than that? I think is time well spent.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. I think we can get another question.
I grabbed the book off my shelf.
Oh, there you go.
This is one of those cases where I actually have the book. And one of my notes in it was develop and enhance the central storyline when you're making your infographic.
Perfect.
That's the kind of stuff you get from the book. All right.
Let's get one more question.
One more quick one came from Chris. I teach 4th grade and my students have been researching a different bird species. They wrote books and are now creating slideshows based on their books. We wanted to include audio clips of each student's bird calls on their cover slides. Do you know how we could do this without linking it to YouTube or a website? Our thought was the reader would click on the image of their bird and they could hear the bird's call. I liked the Mo app and was thinking they could have kids record each of their slides, but the free version is pretty limited. Is there another app that is free for them to use? Thanks so much, Chris. So I wrote back to Chris and I actually made a video about this because this is kind of a fun topic. And we're big bird watchers here at my house. I went on archive.org, found and looked until I found a cardinal. The bird I chose was a cardinal, and found a cardinal call, uploaded that to Google Drive, and then inserted it into my Google Slides. That's how I would approach doing that. Now, I would not send 4th graders to archive.org to look for anything. So the way that I did it would be a little bit labor intensive from the teacher perspective. If you had 20 kids who are all, picking different birds, my first instinct was actually to go to Cornell's database of bird calls. Unfortunately, those are not available for download. You can listen to them, but you can't download them because they're all copyrighted recordings. So you can stream them, you can listen to them, you can embed them, but you can't actually download them, which is why I ended up going to archive.org to look for them. I also did kind of a generic bird call search on Google. There's a lot of shady websites that are offering free sound effects that I would not want my 4th graders to go clicking on to download stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't mean shady in terms like the content, it's just like there's a lot of places where they could click on things that are like an ad for, you name it, healthcare products or something that you don't want your 4th graders going to.
What a kind way of looking at that issue. Judith asks if ThingLink might be a good option on that front.
ThingLink could work, except that she wanted to use slides, and ThingLink, and there was a ThingLink's pricing model keeps changing to the point that I don't even know what it is anymore. I know that the ownership of the site has changed hands at least 3 times since I started using it, because I knew the original founder. He was a guy from Portland, Maine. He has not been involved with the company in like 7 or 8 years now, and it's since been sold off to somebody else. So who knows?
Yeah, I would be curious if Chris sees this and takes in our thoughts. What is it about linking to YouTube or a website that is the issue, right? So so for example, if there are loads of YouTube videos that are like, this is a cardinal singing, right? And you embed that as a very small YouTube video on the slide, is that a bad thing? Is using YouTube a bad thing for some reason? I mean, I can see some possibilities there, but just curious. And then also, you think about the Cornell website. Why not link just to those things? I mean, like if it's just a matter of teaching the kids how to navigate there and back for these things, and you've saved tons of time because you've got this huge database of bird calls, then why not do that? So Chris may let us know along the way how that works. Oh yeah, let's get that Cornell site in there as well. Well done. So we will get that.
And Nicole had a great idea.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Put a repository of bird calls in Google Drive, a bit of time to get started, but then available year after year. Yeah. basically creating a B-roll gallery in your Google Drive, which I've recommended doing ever since I heard Ken Shelton share that idea like a dozen years ago at a conference when he was talking about doing pictures. So that was, oh gosh, that was at least 2010.
And Ken, by the way, one of the great voices out there for thinking through issues of equity and with technology. And if you're kind of like, wait, who's that? Look him up. Ken Shelton, Chelton, amazing guy.
You'll also find posters of him on the wall at LAX sometimes.
That's right. In addition to being a wonderfully insightful mind on educational technology, he's a model and
literally a model.
Yeah, he's literally a model. I'm amazed at how many people look my way when I'm walking with him. So all good. So speaking of looking my way, there is the January newsletter is out now. I hope that that's something that's of interest to you. We got a lot of cool projects going on, and there's always kind of that opportunity to score a little bit of a little Starbucks love there. I hope you'll give that a look. Written some books. If you've got interest in those, stay in touch with me. It's about becoming a better teacher, or helping, or if you're a tech coach, helping other teachers become better, or helping tell the stories of your school in ways that allow you to build on those powerfully. And if you're a leader and you're thinking about how to really focus in on using technology to build a better team and a better school, then I've got that as well. So let me know if that's of interest. This is actually last week's NVIV. I was so early putting this together, that didn't occur to me. But really interesting video from a skier named Sam Favre, Favret, Favre perhaps. But it's this footage of him at a ski resort where it's just him, and it's beautifully spooky and cool, and if you're kind of a little worried about heights, it might be a harrowing thing to watch. But I asked in the NVIV about, okay, well, what does it mean to do something and kind of deal with that question of like, well, it's risky, but there's rewards, and how do we work with that? The NVIV's Next Vista Inspiring Video is always designed to like pull a cool video together and ask some interesting questions around it. I hope that that's useful to you as well. And then there is this cool bit of awesomeness here.
Yeah, so that's the Practical EdTech Handbook. You can get it by going to practicaledtech.com and signing up for my weekly newsletter. It's 70 pages of my favorite EdTech tools, tips, and strategies, things like that. On the next page, on the next slide, I have my first ever ebook that's not free. It's cold here in Maine, and I need to heat my office. So I put together, speaking of my newsletter, 50 excerpts from 400 issues of my newsletter. I called it 50 Tech Tuesday Tips. It's all ideas for the busy tech coach or the school librarian, media specialist who's been asked to do a quick after-school tech session. The last minute, your professional development consultant canceled, and they say, "Hey, Judith, can you do this workshop for us this afternoon?" And you say, "Sure, I can. I've got 50 ideas right here." That's the idea of that book. You can check that out. So check that out there. Next slide, Rushton. We are on to my YouTube channel, where you can find me doing what I'm doing right now, sharing more tutorials on all kinds of EdTech tools. So check that out. Tweet at me, send me an email, and join us for our next episode on Thursday.
Thursday, February the 10th, and then Thursday, March the 10th. Easy to remember, huh? And if you are enjoying this stuff, remember, you are very welcome to just say, "Hey, I've got this question," and we'll inflict some thoughts on you guys related to your question. That's very much in our wheelhouse. And we're always happy to hear from you just on how to improve the webinar, because we can get better at what we do. And if you tell us, we'll experiment with it. So we would appreciate that. Hope that over the course of this one, you've gotten some good ideas on the different things that you do, that you've thought of some new ways to maybe inspire a kid in seeing possibilities for herself or himself. And that also we will see you when we do this again, February the 10th. Have a wonderful rest of your January.